الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. نكمل إن شاء الله. We continue إن شاء الله تعالى with the chapter of Al-Ijara, and we stopped at where we said we can read it again. الضرب الثاني, where he says الضرب الثاني, the second type of إجارة أو الإجارة, the second type of Al-Ijara. So just a quick review that Al-Ijara, which is lease or renting or hiring, this type of contract, it's valid, of course, and it's عقد لازم, it is going to be mentioned. It's a binding contract, and the conditions, as mentioned in the beginning of the chapter, the three conditions, that to the manfa'a or the benefit has to be clear and it's permissible, and to know the ujra, or to know the price that a person would pay. And the price can varies according to the urf, the norm. And basically al-ijara is a form of selling, but in a temporary sense with a specific time. So that's why it's not really bay', because it has a limited time to it. So therefore it's selling a manfa'a, or purchasing a benefit, not necessarily something that is forever. And then the point where he says وهي ضربان, that means it's two types: إجارة عين وإجارة منفعة. إجارة عين, the first type, which is the إجارة or the rent or the lease of a عين, of a specific item, something physical, and the 5 conditions mentioned there, which is knowing it, having the ability to make the taslim, to give it, the aqd, the contract is on the benefit, not the parts of the item. So you cannot rent an apple for people to eat, for example. And then why this is mentioned, because the case of breastfeeding or anything that is being people hired for some benefit, you don't take part of them. It's just by a part of the benefit that they give, and that the naf' or the benefit is included, is there. So a person rented an apartment to live, then it has to be feasible for someone to live in it, and that it's the one that would rent it is the one that owns it, or he gives the permission, someone acts on his behalf as an agent. And then إجارة العين قسمان, we talked about the 2 types of إجارة العين within the first type. So either it's to a specific time, or to a work that is to be done. And then after that, he talks about الضرب الثاني, the second type of إجارة, which is عقد على منفعة في الذمة. عقد على منفعة في الذمة. So, and there's more to it. So this is the second type. The first one was إجارة على العين, إجارة upon a specific physical, tangible item. The second type, عقد على منفعة. So it's a benefit or a contract upon a benefit في الذمة. في الذمة, that means it's not going to be on a specific item or a physical item. That means the benefit is going to happen in the future, something as a credit, or something that a person would take upon himself, that he would do certain things, he would do or fulfill certain benefits at a certain time, till a certain time. So it's عقد على منفعة في الذمة في شيء معين أو موصوف, in something that is very specific or something that is described. That means it's what is meant is that it has to be, the benefit has to be with the specific item. So, but what's the aqd is upon the benefit, not upon the ayn. So what that means is, again, as we've mentioned the example, if you have someone, you have a furniture that you want to move from one place to the other. Either you make the ijara, the aqd of al-ijara, to rent a car or a truck that would move your furniture, so the rent is upon the truck. This is ayn. This is ijara to ayn. Or the ijara is on the manfa'a only, on the benefit. The benefit meaning that you hire someone to move your furniture. So he will deal with the car, he will deal with the truck. So the contract is between you and the individual based on the manfa'a. You don't care how he, of course, some things might be mentioned. How does he move it and things like this? But there are implications as a result of that. You want to move that place or thing from one place to the other. So this is the difference. So the manfa'a here is with regards to a benefit upon a certain item, but the aqd is upon the manfa'a or the benefit, not the item. So you're hiring or you're having the contract on the benefit, on the work itself, not the item that you're renting or you're leasing or so, or even the individual. You're not hiring, there's different types of doing it. You might hire someone to work for you for 8 hours. And in the 8 hours, he's going to move the furniture. So this is different types of which contract exactly is there. If you hired him to work for you for 8 hours, this is إجارة عين or إجارة منفعة? عين. Yeah, you hired him. So you own that person for 8 hours, basically. So he's whatever you tell him. Yeah, you give him job description, of course, but the aqd is upon him, not upon the benefit. So this is ayn. He's an individual. He's a human being. And the manfa'a is that you hired, yes, him, but you're basically based on transportation, not on the individual himself. So this is it has manfa'atun fi dhimma. So it's not what لا تعني, it does not mean the item, it means the benefit. That's what الذمة here means. Before we talked about الذمة meaning in credit in the future, but what means here specifically to differentiate it from al-ayn is that the contract is upon not the item, but upon what's one's responsibility, one's actions that he's going to do. Is there anything in the English they call it عقد على منفعة في الذمة, in his responsibility, in his liability. It's upon himself that he's going to do certain benefit. And the difference is, as we see the example, you rented a car or you hired someone to move the furniture for you. So it's about moving the furniture. It's not about the car. It's not about renting or hiring someone for 4 hours or 8 hours. It's about moving the furniture. So if someone is hired to move the furniture, this is عقد على الذمة. He took it upon himself that he's going to move the furniture. Not that he is giving you 8 hours. You see the difference? If he gives you 8 hours, that's not عقد على الذمة. This is not upon his action. It's upon, I'm hiring myself. I'm giving myself. You use me for 8 hours to move your furniture. But the other one is عقد على الذمة. That means I take it upon myself, then I'm going to move your furniture to the other place. There is actually, it becomes clear with the implications of it. Say for example, if it's عقد على الذمة, منفعة على الذمة, and he, while he's moving it, the car makes an accident, right? You did not rent the car, right? So the furniture company will come with their car, and the car makes an accident. You're not responsible for it. But if you hire the truck, if you rent the truck, and you make an accident, then you're responsible. Why? Because what type of aqd is it? It's aqd upon the car, or it's aqd upon the manfa'a, the benefit.
Just so I make sure I understand the manfa'a, is it safe to say that the difference, if I was hiring somebody, the ayn would be I hire this person for 8 hours, and the manfa'a would be I hire this person for a specific job?
Yes. So it's basically if it's an individual, either you hire the individual for the hours or you hire the individual for the work. So that's the different types. Even though at the end is عقد إجارة, but the implications can be different. So if you have a company and you hire someone, if you hire that someone from 8 to 5, that's عقد إجارة على العين. This is the individual. But if you hire the person that every day he's gonna, or whatever, the work is this. I don't care about the time. as long as you finish your work. So this is manfa'a. So it's upon himself to do the work, and therefore if he, without them specifying things in the contract, if he get the work done by himself or someone else, it doesn't matter. He got the job done perfectly. So this is, and it has to be عقد على منفعة في الذمة في شيء معين أو موصوف. It has to be في الذمة about, describing what is in the ذمة, what you're hired for to do. So it has to be very specific. So you're not specifying the عين, you're specifying the منفعة, right? So في شيء معين, what شيء معين? Something specific. المعين here is the منفعة, is the benefit, has to be clear. You're moving the furniture of this apartment, or you're moving one room, or you're moving only the wood, or whatever, right? So it's about the منفعة itself. أو موصوف, or موصوف. The موصوف is that the person would describe what he wants from the ijara. Something that is described, doesn't have to be something specific. Like going to the tailor, for example, to sew something for you. So this is something موصوف. It's not something specific now. So it's not like moving a specific furniture. It's about something else, something that is not present, but it will be described according to the specific way of describing it. أو شيء موصوف. So in that case, the عقد على المنفعة, because many things that, as we said, you go do, it's إجارة على منفعة. Going to the doctor, going to the mechanic shop, all of these things is عقد على المنفعة, the benefit that person will give you. So this is all عقد على المنفعة, not عقد على العين, not a specific item that you're renting. العين is renting an apartment, renting a car, hiring someone. He حبس الوقت, he's there for you, for 8 hours. Is it clear? Because of course, think of the liability. If someone is hired and he is إجارة عين, someone works for you, you're a mechanic shop, and you have a worker, being paid by salary, he works from 8 to 5. If he takes a car, driving the car to the shop, and he hits the car, who's liable for this? The owner of the shop or the worker? Huh? Who? No, the owner. The owner is liable. He can punish. He can have in the contract between. Of course, if the worker is doing something negligence or something that is clearly his fault, he can deal with him. But when we say liable to the one that his car is broken. This is the liability upon who's going to fix the car, the worker, or the owner of the car is going to go after who? Not after the worker, but after the shop. Because it's عقد is عقد عين. But if it's منفعة, then it's different. So if it's منفعة, and that means the person is hired to do something like if we imagine the case of the body shop or the car shop, and he's outsourcing some of his work within his shop to someone else or to another company. He has a big shop, so there's a company doing the tires. So in that part of the business, they cause the damage, right? So even though the contract is between him and the people doing the tire, but they're responsible because the aqd is not on the ayn, is on the benefit. If you're hiring the hours, if he's hired for you for the hours, right? But if you're hiring him for the benefit, then he's responsible. Right. They're responsible. They're liable. Yes, if they bring their own equipment, and you're hiring the service that they make. So, and then he says, فيشترط, and this will come inshallah. So, if, فيشترط, so that as a result of that, there's conditions. تقديرها بعمل أو مدة كبناء دار وخياطة وشرط معرفة ذلك وضبطه. تقديرها, التقدير is to make the proper measure. بعمل, whether it's by an action to be done أو مدة or a period of time. كبناء دار وخياطة, like building a house or sewing something. So this is, whether it's a person is hired, for doing something specific, building something, or again, it's based on the time. But this is another category, which is the one with the time, even though you're hiring with the time, but this is basically he's hired for the time, but there's a benefit. As we said, it was إجارة عين. But here they call it أجير خاص. He's a specific أجير. He's only for you, not doing it for more than one person. He's just hired for you only. So whether it's to build a house or to sew something, وشرط, and as a condition of that, معرفة ذلك وضبطه. You have to know it very well, and ضبطه to be very precise. So it has to be very clear what is the contract is for. So building the house, how the house is, and whether you hire someone, a contractor, to build it, or that you, without a limit or without a time, or you hire someone to build it within the time. And if having both, and there's opinions of the ulama that this is not permissible, so it has to be one or the other, unless they specify this in the contract, and some had said that it's permissible. But anyway, so تقديرها بعمل أو مدة كبناء دار وخياطة وشرط معرفة ذلك وضبطه. So نعم. وكون He says وكون أجير فيها آدميا جائز التصرف. So this is the second condition, that وكون أجير, the أجير is the one that is hired in this, is آدميا, is a human being, which is a very clear one. جائز التصرف, he has the responsibility for dealing with things. He can buy and sell and things like this. He's not insane. He's not a child. So وكون أجير فيها آدميا, and this is again upon the benefit, which is going to be في الذمة, meaning, and since it's in the ذمة, that means he has to be someone that is responsible for his actions. So clear. And it says وكون عمل لا يختص فاعله أن يكون من أهل القربة. وكون عمل now is about the عمل itself, or the benefit here. لا يختص فاعله, that is not specific for the فاعل, the doer of this عمل, أن يكون من أهل القربة, that he is not from the people of doing it as an act of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the subject of hiring someone to be the mu'adhin, to be the imam, to anything that is deen, basically. So this is the subject of Al-Ijara, عقد الإجارة على القرب, the contract of Al-Ijara, hiring someone for a good deed to be done. So this is a detailed subject, and some of the, as you see here, كون عمل لا يختص فاعله أن يكون من أهل القربة, as far as the Ijara is concerned, according to that, is not permissible. But it can be something else. As we said before, at the time of the early generations of Islam, it was based on either al-razaq or al-ju'ala. Al-razaq, not al-rizq. Al-razaq is from Bayt Mal al-Muslimin, where the money of the Muslimin is to be given for those who would do these actions, that is, the Muslimin are in need of it, for someone to give his time. He does not have the means to seek provisions. So this is where to lead the salah or to make adhan and so on. And his niyyah is between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is not for the money, but for the sake of Allah. Or the bend or the category of al-ju'ala. Al-ju'ala is like the ruqya, when the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, the people, they made ruqya and they took money as a result of the person being cured. And the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he ate from what they brought. So that means this is a permissible thing. This is ju'ala. This is not ujra. Right? This is not a lease or hired someone to make ruqya. This is the result of what he did, and there's a benefit, and they give him something. Right? So this is in the category of al-ju'ala. But of course, it's best is for the person to avoid this. And the ijara, because of the ijara is very specific. So that means, if it's ijara, then the mu'adhin or the imam is not given his salary, he's not going to pray. That's haram, of course. So it's not ijara. It's not. But then the other opinion, which is, it's by many that they said that it's permissible, that it's valid in the things that people are in need of. Someone to teach the people the Quran, someone to be their imam, and things like this. So this is where it says وَكَوْنُ عَمَلٍ لَا يَخْتَصُ فَاعِلُهُ أَنْ يَكُونَ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْقُرْبَةِ. So, but as far as the consensus that it's upon in the razaq, this is no difference of opinion in this. Al-Ju'ala, no difference of opinion in this. The issue is only with Al-Ijara, as hired to do a specific job and the implications of it. So, but many of the even from the early generations of Islam and from the contemporary scholars with the issue of Al-Ijara, that only permissible if it's needed. Only permissible if it's needed. And especially they make it even from among the matter of Al-Ijara, like the contemporary scholars, especially in the West and things of that nature. Because there's no awqaf, there's no authority. And then he says, وَعَلَى مُؤْجِرٍ أو مؤجر. So the one that is owner of the property and he's renting, على مؤجر كل ما جرت به عادة وعرف. So whatever is known to be the norm and the habits or of things, then it's upon the mu'jir or the one that owns the property or owns the car or whatever. كزمام مركوب وشد ورفع وحط. So كزمام مركوب. الزمام is the rein, where they, for the horse and things like this. So this is the norm. كزمام مركوب وشد ورفع وحط. Shad is when something is being tight. رفع, something that is being, shad, when they tie something on the, they need something to tie the mata' or the bags or something like this. وحط, that means they need to put something on the when they have in the past, they have their belongings, so they would have to have bags for it, the things that they cover it with. So these types of things, so that it's valid for whatever he's renting the debt, but unless they have the condition, that doesn't have to be there. And also, as he says here, وعلى مكتر, and upon the muktari, and muktari is the one that is renting. نحو محمل. And the mahmil is the thing that they put on top of the animals to ride on, to sit on. ومظلة, something for the shade. وتعزيل ونحو بالوعة. البالوعة is the sewage. the hole in the ground that allows the water to leave, because it's called بلوعة because it's تبلع الماء, it swallows the water. So تعزيل is to remove, is to clean. So this is he's supposed to clean it. If he used the house before he leave, he has to clean this. إن تسلمها فارغة, if he received it empty. So someone rented an apartment, and if it was in the style where the sewer system, it stays there, it's not running, it's not run by the city, for example. So if he received it empty, and I don't know if you guys know, in some parts of the world where there's no system for the sewer system, what they do is they dig a well deep in the ground. They call it the septic, the septic tank. So for example, the septic tank is known, and once in a while, if it's too much, the car will come and they take it away. So if a person rented the thing and the septic tank is full, and he agreed to this, then he doesn't have to empty it when he's leaving. But when he rented the place, it was empty. So when he's leaving, he has to bring it back to be empty again. So this is basically وتعزيل نحو بلوعة إن تسلمها فارغة. If he تسلمها, if he received it or if he took it, فارغة empty. وعلى مكر تسليمها كذلك. وعلى مكر, المكر is the owner, is the one that is renting. So المكتري is the one that is renting, and المكر is the one that is the owner. المكر is the owner, and the muktari is the one that is renting it from the mukri. So وعلى مكر تسليمها كذلك, he has to give it to him like this, meaning empty. So are the words clear? وعلى مكتر نحو, and this is not only the things, but this is basically describing at the urf at their time. So whatever the urf, the norm of the people at any time, then that should be considered. What's upon the owner versus what's upon the one that is renting it. So if it's the norm is that the owner would empty the apartment, clean the apartment, things like that, then it's upon him to do that. And if it's whatever is upon the one that rents, then he should do that and says, well, I entered and he rented an apartment non-furnished, and he says, no, where's the furniture? So it depends on the norm. Or even the non-furnished apartments, if the norm is that it comes with the fridge and the stove and things like this, then he has the right to ask for these things, because that's what the norm is, unless it's specified in the contract that he will not get any of this. So the norm is usually referred to as the urf refers to as the norm. It's given. It doesn't have to be mentioned specifically in the contract. And then he says, فصل وهي عقد لازم. The ijara is عقد لازم. So what lazim means, that means it's binding. It is not permissible for any of the two sides to cancel it. Unless there's a condition in the contract. He says فإن تحول مستأجر في أثناء المدة بلا عذر فعليه كل الأجر. فإن تحول, if it's a مسألة, تحول مستأجر. Now here he says مستأجر versus مكتري. So مستأجر from الإجارة is the one that is renting. So not the owner. What do you call the owner of a renting place? The landlord? Anything related to rent? There's no such a thing. Right? Lesser? Lease and the lesser. Okay. So let's say landlord is easier. So if the person renting, if he تحول means he changed. That means he doesn't want to rent anymore. في أثناء المدة. أثناء, while he, within the period of time that he rented the place for. He rented it for a year. After a few months, he says, I want to break the contract. بلا عذر, without a valid excuse. Because the عذر might be something happened in the al-ayn, or the specific item. So if there's no valid excuse, فعليه كل الأجرة. Then upon him is the entire ujra, which is the year. He has to pay the entire ujra of the year. unless they specify in the contract, otherwise. So this is if it comes from the mustajir, if it comes from the one that is renting. وإن حوله مالك, if the malik is if the owner is the one that wants him to leave, فلا شيء له. فلا شيء له, that means there's nothing to be given then to the owner. So that means he does not get the ujra. Because again, if he rented it for a year, for example, who owns it for a year is the mustajir, is the one that is leasing it, the one that is renting it. So either if he stayed for few months, he's been paying the rent, right? So after paying for a few months, the owner comes and he says, I want you to leave. Right? So in that case, it's aqdun lazim. So if he has no choice but to leave, for example, for whatever reason, then he doesn't have to pay anything whatsoever. But the issue is if he did not pay and the owner wants him to leave, right? Who's owning it for a year is the mustajir. So that means the owner is committing injustice against him. So in that case, he has to give him something to get out even sometimes, since he owns it. So give him the owner. This is something the ulama even mentioned some of them, and of course the laws of the landlord governs this. To give him not what he paid for, but what the norm of the like of this apartment is worth. But the simple mas'ala here, وَإِنْ حَوَلَهُ مَالِكٌ. So if the malik removed him, فَلَا شَيْءَ عَلَيْهِ. He can dispute it. He can go to the judge, says, I'm leaving. He owns it for a year. So if he give the judgment or the ruling that he is to leave, then he does not, of course, it's not binding upon him to pay anything or whatever is left. So he says, وَتَنْفَسِخُ بتلف معقود عليه وموت مرتضع وانقلاع درس أو برئه ونحوه. So تنفسخ means from الفسخ, the contract is broken, is not there anymore. بتلف معقود عليه, if the معقود عليه, if the item is destroyed or ruined, so there's no contract anymore. So the building collapsed. So there's no, the عقد is, يفسخ العقد. That's the end of it. وموت مرتضع, and the breastfeeding woman died. وانقلاع ضرس أو برئه ونحوه. انقلاع is what the removement of a ضرس is the teeth, the back teeth. So when you go to the dentist, this is عقد إيجار. You're going, say for example, a person is going just to get his tooth out. That's the only thing. Of course, when you go to the dentist, you do all kinds of things and the service fees and the x-rays and then he see what he's going to do and he asks you and then all these types of things. But imagine in the simple, primitive way, you're just going to someone that is going to get your tooth out. That's it. That's his job. So, and this was the contract. So if the contract was there, but before he do anything, the durs or the tooth fell by itself, or he get cured, or the like of it. So there's no aqd anymore. There's no contract between them. There's no, sorry, we had an agreement that I'm going to do it for you. Well, it's gone. So there's no aqd anymore. The same thing can be applied if someone made a contract with a surgeon that he's going to do a surgery for him. And he gave down payment, for example, right? And they didn't pay anything because they might have spent something just in a very simple form of it, that guy got cured. Then there's no aqd there anymore. Then he says, وَلَا يَضْمَنُ. This is now the daman. The last part of this, or actually many rulings here with regards to ad-daman. Ad-daman, as always mentioned in the contracts, is the liability, who guarantees what if something wrong happens. So he says here, وَلَا يَضْمَنُ أَجِيرٌ خَاصٌ مَا جَنَتْ يَدُهُ خَطَأً. That's what we were talking about before. You have ajir khas. الأجير الخاص is the specific أجير, the specific worker. He's a worker for you, so he's أجير. He's the contract between you and him is إجارة. And he's أجير خاص. That means he's a special, he's only working for you. Like your chauffeur, your driver. Right? He only works for you. So this is أجير خاص. So someone hired a chauffeur, a driver, and he made an accident. He's not liable. Unless he's negligible, he did something wrong, he went over the speed limit, he broke a red light. If it's his fault, his fault meaning because of ihmal, because of not taking care of it, because of an action that he did. But if he's not, then he does not, no daman on him. No daman, no liability on him, whether he did something to someone else or the thing that he is driving, for example. So أجير خاص ما جنت يده خطأ. What his hand, الجناية is the transgression. Sometimes it means the aggression or the criminal act. But in these types of things, that means he caused damage to someone. يده, his hand, خطأ by mistake. So he does not make ضمان. He's أجير خاص. That means what? What's the opposite of خاص? عام, or they call him أجير مشترك, which is true. Yes, the opposite of خاص is عام. But they call him أجير مشترك. That means he's a common أجير. Like what? Like he is driving your car and other people's car. Like the case where, valet parking. Right? He's not just hired for you, he's for many people. So he يضمن, he guarantees in this case. But what guarantee doesn't have to be him, can be the hotel, can be the place, yes. But meaning it's not you. You see the difference? So because أجير مشترك, that means like the same thing if you go to a doctor. The doctor has many patients. You're not the only one. So if the doctor does, even though the doctor will be mentioned later, but this is أجير مشترك. So الأجير الخاص, he's the one that does not guarantee, he's not liable. Because you hired him to be your personal worker. So if he did something by mistake, by fault, he does not liable for it. Is it clear? ولا نحو حجام وطبيب وبيطار. And the same thing with حجام, someone do حجامة, وطبيب, and doctor, medical doctor, وبيطار, البيطار is the بيطري, the one that deals with animals. Veterinarian, yes. The veterinarian, am I saying it right? So these ones, they don't also guarantee, there's no liability on them with conditions. عُرِفَ حِذْقُهُم. So this is one. They are known to be, al-حاذق is what? What's حاذق? Someone that is professional, someone sharp, someone is good at his job. So, he has a certificate. That's why, for example, the business of certificates. Someone is in the business of prescribing people medicine. If he's not having the certificate or the license to do that, they're going to go to prison. So say, for example, for the sake of, if someone is just giving people prescriptions and he does not have any license or any background or any knowledge of it. And as a result of, he gives someone the wrong prescription and that person, harm happened to him or he died. He's responsible. But if it was a doctor that is, he has the license, he knows what he's doing, and also there's another conditions afterwards, and something happened, and this is the huge issue of when something happens, if a doctor or surgeon or whatever, that's why they have insurance on these types of things. But who's responsible? Who's liable? If it's a mistake that it is not based on negligence or he did something wrong intentionally or unintentional, just being ignorant or not doing his job in the proper way, which is well known. There's procedure, for example, but he didn't follow the procedure, and he's liable. Or he did something negligence. So, or someone is doing it for someone else when it's not his profession. So all of these things, then the ضمان is عليه, upon him is the liability. But here عُرِفَ حِذْقُهُم, they are حذق, they are the person is حاذق, that means he's sharp, he's good. And also إن أذن فيه مكلف أو ولي غيره. And also if the person, the mukallaf, gave him the permission or his wali give the permission. So if and that's why if someone goes to a veterinarian or something, he has to get your consent to do whatever he wants to do. Or you go to the doctor surgery, you have to sign the consent. So unless a person, for example, when he goes to the emergency room and he's unconscious, do they have to have his consent to operate on him? They don't have to, because now they're in the process of saving his life. So there's no domain on them. There's no liability on them. But otherwise, the person has to give the permission to work or to do the hijama or to do the matter of medical thing, or as a baytar is the veterinarian or his wali if it's a child. Clear? And you see how these things in hundreds of years ago, it's all established here. وَلَمْ تَجْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ. The third condition is وَلَمْ تَجْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ. Their hands did not do anything wrong. Al-jinaya again is aggression. They did not do it as a being negligent or doing something that is wrongdoing from their own self, from their own end. ولا راع ما لم يتعدى أو يفرط. ولا راع, someone that is a shepherd, if he does not يتعدى, does not transgress, and he does not يفرط, does not do any tafrit or negligence from his end. So this is also for the راعي. So this is الأجير الخاص. Clear? We'll stop here inshallah, because I don't want to. The next one is المشترك. ويضمن مشترك. The أجير المشترك. So now we just took the أجير الخاص. We'll read it inshallah from الضرب الثاني, and follow inshallah with every word and see if there's anything that is not clear. الضرب الثاني عقد على منفعة في الذمة في شيء معين أو موصوف, فيشترط تقديرها بعمل أو مدة كبناء دار وخياطة, وشرط معرفة ذلك وضبطه, وكون أجير فيها آدميا جائز التصرف, وكون عمل لا يختص فاعله أن يكون من أهل القربة, وعلى مؤجر كل ما جرت به عادة وعرف كزمام مركوب وشد ورفع وحط, وعلى مكتر نحو محمل ومظلة وتعزيل نحو بالوعة إن تسلمها فارغة, وعلى مكر تسليمها كذلك, وهي عقد لازم, فإن تحول مستأجر في أثناء المدة بلا عذر فعليه كل الأجرة, وإن حوله مالك فلا شيء له, وتنفسخ بتلف معقود عليه وموت مرتضع وانقلاع ضرس أو برئه ونحوه، ولا يضمن أجير خاص ما جنت يده خطأ، ولا نحو حجام وطبيب وبيطار عرف حذقهم إن أذن فيه مكلف أو ولي غيره، ولم تجني أيديهم، ولا راع ما لم يتعد أو يفرط. اسم. نعم. ده عقد على منفعة على مدة. That means this is the same thing as having someone to work for certain hours doing one specific action. So it's the same as he's not, yeah, he's hired to put things in the shelf. Yes. So this is the manfa'a, but it's based on time. It's hiring. No, it's see, okay, here's the difference. You have a whole bunch of items on the floor, and you want these items to be on the shelf. So either you hire him, put them on the shelf, or I want you to work for me for 4 hours, whatever you do for 4 hours. This is like that. Or you can say, I'm going to hire you every day for the next year to put items on the shelf. So he's not hired for every year, every day, for 8 hours to do anything else. So he's just hired for that benefit, specific benefit. So again, so the issue of the liability of, it's more into the أجير الخاص والمشترك, more than العين والمنفعة. So when we talked about who is liable, it's more of the specific أجير versus the common one. What is it? إجارة عين. If you hired someone to do something, he cannot outsource it to someone else unless you agree. Unless it's part of the contract. Right. Yes. Unless if he's not able to do it, then he would give you the choice. Right. He would give you the choice, whether it's someone else or not. But if he says, this is all according to the contract. If the contract is about fixing it, and it's none of your business who's going to fix it, because for example, the guy that is say the owner of the company, he comes and he makes the contract with you that he's going to fix it. Then the next day you find other people coming. So did you hire him or you hired for the job to be done? And most people are like this. You get someone comes to cut the grass for you. And then when it comes to who's cutting the grass, it's other people other than him. But he's the one that is responsible. Right. The lease, does it get invalid by the death of whether it's the owner of or the one that is leasing? Right? In principle, the leasing contract does not get inherited. So it's supposed to be, the end of it, unless they specify in the contract. No.
The baby dies or the.
Right. If the baby dies, there's no contract. Then if the woman dies, there's no contract. No. Anything goes before the hadith? What's the hadith number? 141. You got this is Ijara or MashaAllah. Liability. If you make a mistake, then it's 141 144. So hadith number 144. We'll read it all inshallah and then we'll see what required for memorization inshallah. عن النواس بن سمعان عن النواس ابن سمعان الأنصاري قال سألت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن البر والإثم فقال البر حسن الخلق والإثم ما حاك في صدرك وكرهت أن يطلع عليه الناس. رواه مسلم. وعن وابصة ابن معبد قال أتيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال جئت تسأل عن البر والإثم قلت نعم قال استفت قلبك البر ما اطمأنت إليه النفس واطمأن إليه القلب والإثم ما حاك في النفس وتردد في الصدر وإن أفتاك الناس وأفتوك. First of all, we'll just take the first one for memorization, inshallah. But the second one describes it and gives more meaning to it. That's why both are mentioned. But the first one is the required one. So the first one, Nawas ibn Sam'an radiallahu anhu said, سألت, I asked the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam عن البر والإثم. Al-birr is righteousness in general, and al-ithm is the sin. So he asked him, and they would ask the Prophet ﷺ whether it's something specific or something broader and general like this. And the answer, well, for everyone, and sometimes it relates to a specific matter, to give the explanation with an example. So he said, Al-birru husnul khuluq. Al-birr, righteousness, is good manners. And good manners is good manners. Even the tawheed of Allah is the good manners. The manners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and with the people. Wal-ithmu, so this is al-birr. Al-ithmu is the sin, ma haka fi sadrik. Haka fi sadrik, al-hak is when something is rubbing. So what rubs in your breast, meaning what rubs in your heart. What is the meaning of rubbing in your heart? That means it's not settled, keeps on bothering you. ما حاك في صدرك وكرهت أن يطلع عليه الناس, and you would hate for people to see it, to see you upon that act, even though you might get a fatwa that it's halal, but there is something itching in your heart with regards to that sin, and you would hate for people to know that you're doing this. But in the next narration, the Prophet ﷺ told him, he kind of told him what's in his heart by the wahy from Allah. You came to ask about this. So, and you see how that related to what's hakaf al-sadr. You know, he's coming not to ask about what's obviously known as sins, something that is not quite well that he feels about it. And there's many examples to this. But the Prophet ﷺ knew that from him. And he said, Istafti qalbak. Ask your heart. Ask your heart for fatwa in this matter. Al-birru, righteousness, matma'annat ilayhi nafs. What's the nafs? Is in tuma'nina, in tranquility. You know that you're doing something halal for sure, no doubts. وَاطْمَأَنَّ إِلَيْهِ الْقَلْبِ, and the heart is settled in this. And the nafs and the qalb are, you know, the nafs is one's being, the qalb is the heart. وَالْإِثْمُ, and the sin, مَحَاكَ فِي النَّفْس. وَالْإِثْمُ, the sin is مَحَاكَ, again, what's rubbing in one's nafs, in one's being. وَتَرَدَّدَ فِي الصَّدْرِ, taraddud, going back and forth. well, I think I'm doing okay. No, it's halal, it's halal. Someone told me that it's okay. Then, oh, but it doesn't look like it's halal. You know, like this. وتردد في الصدر. وإن أفتاك الناس وأفتوك. And even if people are giving you fatwa and they're giving you fatwa. So this hadith is very clear, and some people they have trouble understanding it. We know that al-halal bayn wal haram bayn. Halal is clear and haram is clear. There's no such a thing as a person having these issues with the halal and the haram. In the shubuhat, the mushtabihat, also the clear matter is to stay away from it. So this can be applied in the mushtabihat, things that is doubtful, not clear halal or clear haram. And the ruling of it, as the other hadith, is to stay away from it. Because if you fall into mushtabihat, this would make you fall into the sin. And how to know that it's the matter is mushtabihat is from the people of knowledge. And if something like this, and a person has the means to go to the best scholar on the face of earth that he trusts his knowledge and his religion, then it's worth it for him to go ask him about this matter that is, not clear to him, or from the mushtabihat. This mushtabihat can be for everybody, it's mushtabihat, or most of the people, they don't know the ruling of it. Something new, something like this, or related to him. What is related to him, and this is mahaka fi nafs or fi sadr also, is riba is haram. And you go ask a mufti or a sheikh or a alim about your own specific case. And he tell you that in this case, it's okay for you to do it, but you don't feel good. And you don't feel good about this with knowledge, not with having waswas or compulsion or anything of this, but it's he did not tell you that it's halal in something that is clearly halal. It's something that is on the borderline. Like someone asked, he's a plate that has meat, right? And your job is to put the rice in the plate, right? You're not touching the meat, you're not dealing with the meat, you're not doing anything with it. Just putting the rice, and someone else put the meat, right? If you ask someone might tell you you're helping these people to eat something that is not permissible. Someone else will say, but your job is just to put the rice. So you ask, but in your heart, you're really doubtful. So you stay away from it. وإن أفتاك الناس وأفتوك. The same thing with, especially, but if you're not going to do it and you put yourself in a harmful way, then you should ask also a person of knowledge. Because the one that would give you the rukhsa, if someone gives you the rukhsa of doing something that might be, someone else might tell you that it's haram, for example. And if you want to have a rukhsa, then this rukhsa is to ask the highest level of knowledge, because he's going to be between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not about, I heard this person said this, or someone that is a normal person of imam of a masjid, or a da'i, or a motivating speaker, or whatever there is. No, this is something that he's going to be between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have to trust his knowledge and his religion, and he's someone upon the sunnah and someone upon the deen. If he knows that the matter is haram, he will stay away from it. He has wara', he has fear of Allah, that he doesn't do things openly that is haram. And that's why صفة المفتي والمستفتي, this is a ahkam that has to be taught. The common person should learn who to ask. And this is in the books of knowledge, yes. And that's, we mentioned some of it before. If you see someone that is openly commits a sin, is it permissible for you to ask him for anything of the deen? The answer is no. It is not permissible. Even if he has 5 PhDs in the Sharia. It's not permissible to ask him because he's openly committing a sin. So things like that. So it's وَالْإِثْمُ مَا حَكَى فِي صَدْرِكَ, after the matters of knowledge is being executed, being done perfectly, and there's no doubt about this with knowledge, with the people of knowledge, then a person would, whether it's a personal fatwa or in general, but the matter is not clear to him with matters of ilm. And not a call for a person to have waswas or to forbid what Allah permitted. This is haram, and a person should stay away from this. So the attendance code, inshallah, first. Okay, you guys are ready? 4 words. Ayn, A-Y-N, منفعة MINFA. ضمان DAMAN. مستأجر MUSTAJIR. عين منفعة. misspelling is okay, right? عين منفعة ضمان مستأجر. anything else in chat? And of course these مسائل were taken the very simple case of the مسائل. That's not everything. In every مسألة there's so much details in the مطولات, in the big books of fiqh, especially with the ضمان and the different circumstances and all kinds of things like that. So, and this is by the mercy of Allah, this deen is يعني متين, very well structured. The ulama, may Allah have mercy upon them, did not leave anything. But it's the sad reality that many people turn away from ilm, and then they face certain circumstances and they don't know what is in the deen of Allah with these types of rulings, inshallah. Stop here, inshallah. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم ربنا وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.